Great morning, great morning, great morning. I am Nicole D. Jones, and I am just happy and grateful for another day. I'm happy and grateful for life. I don't take life for granted. I don't take days for granted. I don't take you for granted because I truly understand that some of us may not even make it through the day. So I'm grateful for having breath in my body this morning. I want to remind you that you are healthy, you are wealthy, and you're prosperous. Everything your hands go to touch, it must, it shall, and it will manifest, prosper, and grow great things because you're great. You're created out of greatness. You're created out of love. You're created from the perfect one, but the expectation is not for you to be perfect every day. It is for you to walk out purpose. All right. So happy and grateful for you today. It's Meal Prep Monday. It's the first Monday of a new month, the last month in 2024. And I want to do something a little different today because I've been telling you guys that life is simple. Our life was created to be simple. But what's simple to do is also simple not to do. I first heard that from Riyadh. Shout out to Riyadh, mentor in my life in the season. And he would say it, and I've just held it. It hit me a different way. Then when I realized that it is actually biblically correct, totally different meaning now. Okay. So we've been talking the last month at least, if not longer, about this life created to be simple. What complicates it is the journey. Okay. So I wanted you guys to talk to me because something was said to me yesterday, totally different conversation, but it was said to me that sometimes when I speak or when I talk, this individual sometimes feel like it's going over their head, right? So for me, when things are said, it might be a delayed response, a delayed reaction, but if it comes back to me, I feel like it comes back for a reason. So today, I want to hear anyone who wants to ask a question, share, or whatever about what I'm about to say or what I've been talking about. When I say that this life was created to be simple, I told you guys, I say that because it comes from there are only two things that God requires us to do. That's seek ye first the kingdom and righteousness, right? We talked about that. So what do? We seek the creator. We're spirit with soul wrapped in flesh. And because we're spirit with soul wrapped in flesh, there are two requirements to keep your life simple. You seek your creator. Why are you doing that? To be the best version of you unapologetically, you must submit. All right. You submit to your creator. You go to who created you, because this is the thing. We just are going through, we're passing through this journey. So every day is predestined, is preordained. Nothing happens by chance or surprise by Abba Father, to the one who created you, to the one who wrote your life out from beginning to end, from the moment that you came into this journey to the moment you leave it. So there's always a way of escape. What happens is we do not lean not to our own understanding. We lean to ourselves to solve a lot of the problems that happen, or the as I say, notches of this journey, the history of this journey. We normally try to figure out outward in versus inward out. All right. So righteousness, what is that? Can we just be the best versions of us? Can we be integral? Can we do the right thing even if no one's looking? Can we just choose to just be the best version of us? Can we be intentional to tap into our true self? Your true self is who you are in the spirit. Your false self is the whole masquerade that we've created here, and not even purposely. This journey The things in this journey will do that, and it will make us put mask on. All right. If you have someone who has spoken down to you and it breaks your esteem, you put a mask on because your true self, you now question about you. All right. Very simple, right? But what's simple to do is also simple not to do. So what do? We seek the kingdom and we seek righteousness. Righteousness is really right alignment. It's just being right, doing right. All right. But most of the time, we're trying to find another way to do something. So that's it. That's really what keeps your life simple. So when this was said to me, and like I said, prioritize. I want your feedback on this today, okay? Prioritize, organize, discipline, and then you got to identify the correct order of priority. This is how you keep your life simple. All right. You have to prioritize, because what I keep telling you guys is you got to remember that as soon as you wake up, you're making choices. You choose what you're going to put on. You wake up having to make choices. This is why I feel like it's so good to have a to-do list. I recommend you do it the night before so that you can rest peacefully. Why? So you get the things off of the only battlefield. The only place where battle is in the mind. That's it. That's it. The prince of the air, the dark world, has the authority to play with your head. But there is no power until you give it power. Simple, simple, simple. So you got to brain dump, as I say. Then what I do is I take that brain dump and I prioritize it. All right. But this is the thing. You got to be willing to organize your priorities, not by how you feel, but the way it really should go. What do I mean? You got to ask yourself, are these the right priorities? And are they, how is it important? All right. A priority to me may be to go swimming. but in my to-dos, maybe I need to sit and pay my electric so it don't get cut off before I go swimming. Now, I might have wrote it down first because it was what was on my mind. It's what I wanted to do. So this is what I mean. You take the list, you have to write out your priorities. And then when you write them out, you have to organize them. Now, the kicker that makes us, oh my God, this is so hard. It's the discipline part. You have to be disciplined. What is discipline? I told y'all, it's self-imposed restrictions to accomplish a desired goal, a specific goal. You got to discipline yourself. Why? Because whatever decision you make, at the end of the day, you can blame the left and the right. You have to be accountable for it. So you have to, it's that discipline. It's that self-discipline, that self-control. It's dealing with you, keeping your eyes on you. This is how you are able to keep this life simple, right? And to do that, you have to identify the correct and the right priorities of your life. And that's the key. Every decision we make, it has a domino effect. Everything we do now, we should be building. We should be building, okay? Every decision, there's something that comes with every decision we make, all right? So today, I kind of wanted to hear back, because even though the comment was made to me about something totally different, what I don't want to happen is that we're meeting every week, which I'm grateful for. But if you're not getting something that's going to help you, why are we doing it? And if there's never an opportunity for you to ask a question, or if you're left somewhere not understanding, I want you to talk to me. If you're at least trying any of it, is it working? Is it not working? Because maybe we can help one another. or, someone else may be feeling how you feel too. So who's going to talk to me today? I see y'all today. Alex, Deja, Ladrina, Jacinta, Lisa, Miss Lisa, Shauna, Tayo, Lelaine.
So I agree with everything that you said. And when you said it's about choices, that was just going through my mind. But what happens with me is that priorities shift because additional things are added to my plate that become more important for that day. So what started off as being important that morning may shift during the day because of other things, other priorities that shift the other items that were more important at that time.
So let me ask you a question. When things come into your day, how do you do anything to reprioritize, or if it comes in, do you just kind of jump into that?
I jump into it.
Okay. So here's the thing, because we're keeping life simple, right? And every day is predestined and preordained. When life starts lifing, you have to be willing to take a moment for you. Because if you believe that the day is predestined and preordained, okay, how is this supposed to go in the day? And I think this is where we rob ourselves. Miss Lisa, I ain't saying you're doing anything wrong. This is an example. So right now, my day is planned. It's been planned. I planned it, and I know what I'm going to do when I get off the call, and I know what it's going to entail. But life may life. Something may happen. We've got to be willing to give ourselves that moment, even if you can't just stop and just walk away from it all. You got to be willing to be still, if nowhere else inside, and just say, like, okay, this has come up. I already had, because this is the thing. Our time is not our creator's time. We're ones that are on a clock. All right. And depending on where you are in your life, things may be more pressing. It's the beginning of the month. So for many people, mortgage, rent, that's a press. That's due. Right. So then your car breaks down. So now you got your rent money. You need to get your car fixed. What's more important? This is an example, all right? Because you need your transportation, but you can't afford to be late and be hit with a penalty. In that moment of lifing, we've got to learn, because you got to remember, it's our mind. We've got to learn to control our mind and our thought process. So what does it look like for you? And this is just a question that you guys answer for yourself in your quiet time. What does it look like where you can kind of say, all right, God, this just happened. You already know what I'm supposed to do. You got to be still long enough to at least know the next step. Okay? So it's like, but I feel like that's doing something inward out. That's being willing to take a minute to to process this, to bring heaven on earth into our situation. But most of the time, like you just said, you jump right into it. That's outward in. And I'm not, y'all, I hope, because y'all unmute yourself. If I'm losing someone, I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong, but there's got to be something mentally where we're allowing our thought process to realign. When it's almost like when you hit that bump on the road and your car starts shaking, you got to get to a point where you're driving straight long enough where the car readjusts itself.
I agree with you, but I think the thing with me now is being at peace. That outward in or inward out, whatever feels good to me in my head and in my heart, I guess, is where I am today,
Mm-hmm.
as far as not worrying about some things that probably should have been a higher priority.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, in my heart, I'm saying it's okay.
Right.
And I'm at peace with that choice that I made at that time. So when I jump in on something, I'm probably jumping in not really thinking about it
Mm-hmm.
and saying, Lisa, are you really making the right choice? It's probably a comfort choice that I'm making, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
choice that I'm making that I'm at peace with, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So that's why it's important to do things inward out, because we need the peace that'll surpass our natural understanding, and not and I'm gonna, it's almost like, depending on who you are, where you are, and what you're going through, the peace that's a comfort in your flesh, or the peace that's a comfort in your soul.
Mm.
All right, there's a difference, because our flesh wants something and our spirit, and whichever one we feed is going to be the one that sits in our soul.
That's good.
So we've got to, even in that, we've got to be careful, because I'm the type that, when I get overwhelmed, I need an out. I gotta walk away. I gotta step away. Um, I gotta realign Nicole, because Nicole there's a Coco, there's a Ming Lee, there's a Nikki. It can get real ugly real quick. It can get real peaceful real quick. So you have to know, in that peace, that you're feeding in the right place. And that's always inward out. Because sometimes, well, if we find peace for our flesh, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the best choice. Because we're appeasing our flesh when our flesh should be dying. If that makes sense.
It does.
Okay. So when I talk about this life being simple, this is the caveat. This is the amazing, this is the great thing about this thing called life. There is an answer. There is a right way. And even in us getting to the right way, like I said last week, that's our story, which makes our history. So we can still right our wrongs. But even when we're doing this, we have to be willing to go inward out. So even for me, I was a runner. Anytime anything happened, I run. I run from it. All right. I run. Because if I didn't run, I'd want to fight. So I had to learn to balance the running in me. So if something's going on and I start feeling overwhelmed, for me, I found tea. I go and I sit somewhere. I like going to a restaurant and I like sitting there and talking to strangers, because I talk too much, but talking to a stranger, it helps me relieve my mind on what's going on with me. Okay. Now, if I don't have a balance with that, it can be hurtful to me, because now I'm spending hundreds of dollars going out just to try to relieve my mind. Some of us sleep. It can become hurtful to you because the sleeping could put you in a posture of depression. That's what I mean by finding that. And if we're feeding us naturally, we have to be careful. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right.
It does.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Do y'all believe that this life is simple?
No, I
You don't
don't.
believe the life is simple?
But maybe it's because I'm doing it wrong.
So you don't believe life is simple?
No.
Okay, why don't you believe it?
Because it doesn't appear, it doesn't feel simple to me. It feels very complicated. Like it's all these parts, and you gotta navigate this season, or you gotta navigate that season, or you gotta do this and do that. It doesn't seem simple to me at all.
So simple life would be just chilling.
Um, no, I don't think it'll be just chilling. It'd just be, I guess I wouldn't have so much, I would call it uncertainty about so many things simultaneously.
I didn't hear the last part. You'd have what?
I wouldn't have so much uncertainty about so many things at the same time.
So you got a whole lot going on at once.
That's correct.
You love God?
I do.
You believe in him?
I do.
I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm
No,
being
I know these are real questions. Yeah.
because here's the thing. He says that he'll put no more on us than we can bear. So do you believe that?
Yeah.
So when we get to a place where we're overwhelmed and it's overbearing, can we trust that he told us to be still and just know that he is who he is?
Yes, ma'am.
And then get to that, what Miss Lisa was just talking about, that peace that surpasses our natural understanding. Because you're right. In a day, my eyes are opening up to see that I have a lot going on a lot of the time. I didn't see that before. It's becoming very clear to me that is a true statement. I didn't believe that for decades. Anyone who know me know that's the truth. I didn't, because I think I looked at this journey. You know, if something was laid on my heart to do, I felt like it was an assignment from heaven, so I just did it. And then, when life starts lifing and you're not in that place of balance and you start becoming unstable, this is why you have a lot of leaders that bleed. You have a lot of strong people that are bleeding and they're hurting because they pour themselves out so much, but they're not being poured back into. So when you get to that point, it begins to feel like it's so much. But that's why I say it's simple. Because in Matthew, I believe it was Matthew 6. I believe it's Matthew 6 and 33. But when it talks about we got to seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, that's just two things. When you look at it, naturally, two things should be simple. But what's simple to do is also simple not to do, because when this journey starts happening, it's easier said than done. It's no different than writing a budget. Black and white, it's real easy to write out a budget. It's hard to keep up with or to maintain it for some people. And numbers don't lie. We know they don't. But that doesn't mean that we have the discipline that comes to the discipline part. So when you start feeling like it's so much and it's not simple, I look for simplicity. This is where we have to learn to shift our perspective in our mind. We already acknowledged that the battlefield is the mind. We've already acknowledged that that's the only place we're battled. But we also know that this journey is a fixed fight and we win. So when the mind starts becoming unstable, how can we balance it? You cannot find balance any other way but inward out. Because any way we do it outward in, it's a Band-Aid and it's a temporary fix. And when we're looking for balance, we gotta, I'm looking for ongoing balance. Because when my balance stops, I want to go to glory. So we got to even shift and understand that the journey is moving parts, that everything happens for the best of me, even when I don't understand it. And when it gets super hard, I need to learn how to fall back and look at me, because my life is simple. My life was created to be simple. So if it's complex, what are you doing wrong, Nicole? And the answer may be you're doing everything right. This is just the tornado, but the eye is coming.
Do you see Jesus as having a complicated life?
No.
His life was simple.
I believe so.
From a person of the world, would they see his life as being complicated?
I'm a person of the world, and I don't. But this is why I say this. Because y'all, y'all do know that Jesus was very sarcastic. He angered, but he didn't sin in his anger. I mean, come on now. He wanted to flip a table over because they made him so mad. But because he showed emotion, does that mean that I look at his life as not being simple? No, because his eye was on the prize and he was set on the goal. He was set on the purpose. So to me, when you focus on that, that's what keeps it simple.
And I agree with you. I mean, it looks like he had a lot on his plate.
I think he had more than I got.
Yeah.
I think he might have paid a little more than me too.
Absolutely.
And I think I say this because it's perspective. So when you compare yourself to everything so how do you think that Jesus felt knowing for 3 years, I'm doing all this for people who doing all this, and I'm going to die for you. Now, if he's not the ultimate goal of mind regulating, I don't know what is. And everything that we go through, he went through it. This is what I think we have to do. Well, for me, listen, y'all, it's only been a month that I realized Jesus wasn't poor. Okay? And I didn't equate the two because when you look at it, we look at wealth and riches with money. But when I came into the revelation, like back then it was livestock. Back then it was all these other things. And then I couldn't afford to take 12 of my homies around with me and they didn't have to bring no money, no clothes. They just showed up and we're just doing all this stuff. You gotta learn to shift your perspective. And I feel like the more you go into really wanting to know who you are, these things open up. If that makes sense.
And it does. And I was kind of on the fence between that simple and complicated. But I think it is perception. I think when you look at the word simple and you look at the definition of simple,
that's what I was just about to pull up.
That people think of it differently as, 1 + 1 = 2. That's simple. But I think it's the perception of the word and how we deal with things.
And this is the thing I want everyone to know. Even though we walk through every day together, each one of us is in our own space in our journey. So we understand that the capacity that we're at, what increases our capacity? If you want to know more, what do? You get a book, you go to school, you learn. This is why if we could stay in a posture of a student, be a student of your life and want to learn you, then it's like your capacity begins to grow. All right. What is simple? Easily understood or done, presenting no difficulty. Plain, basic or uncomplicated in form, nature, or design, without much decoration or ornamentation. Composed of a single element, not compound. That's mathematical. But to your point, I think it's like when we hear the word, and this is why I try to define words for me now, because the perspective that I've done and I've shifted is there are so many mysteries of my creator that in this journey, I'll never know them all. Because I look at it like this, I'm always looking to learn something. It's all perspective. Everything is perspective. And that's what keeps it simple. When we are focused on everything that's wrong, we've got to learn to find one thing that's right. And if we can't find one thing that's right, then the fact that you have the opportunity to think about whether or not something is right or wrong, that's right. Now, my journeys made me think that way. Because my dad was at my house at 8 o'clock in the morning on January 10th. At 12:44 p.m., my daughter was calling me to tell me that he was on the floor lifeless. Okay? So for me, I look at days understanding that just because I woke up today doesn't even mean I'm going to make it through the day. But that is something that's helped me shift my perspective. But I won't be bound to that. I won't walk through my days in fear because what happened? Because he didn't expire until Wednesday. That was a Monday. And I was able to see him. They were able to resuscitate him. We were able to have a last moment with him. And then we had to walk the process out. So for me, I'm intentional every day to look at this. I don't come on here every Monday just saying I'm happy and grateful. I'm past 10:30. I'm happy and grateful for the day for no reason. I mean it. I don't come here to just say words to you. But I do want to respect and honor your time. I hate to leave. Well, no, it ain't. It's not. It's a good thing. Because this is the thing. Meal Prep Monday, what do I want you to do this week? I want you to be intentional to shift your perspective. If you don't believe, Jacinta, that this life is simple, it doesn't feel simple, but you believe the word, you believe in God, then spend some time. If on nothing else, Matthew 6:33. That's it. And let the Holy Spirit that's been left to lead, God, and direct all of us to speak to you. And be okay if you still feel that way. Just be willing to keep getting up and keep walking out your day. And I guarantee you, I stand on it 10 toes down. It'll pan out. Now, how long it takes, I don't know. I don't know your journey. I ain't the author and finisher of it. But I know God. And I know his word to be true. Even if I don't understand it all, I know it to be true. So I'm going to stand on it. All right? This was good. I'm so sorry I took 5 minutes of y'all time, though. But this was good. If y'all, I don't even have to post it, really, because it was our conversation. It was our conversation. But I just wanted to do that because I did want us to really, and thank y'all for being honest with me, okay? Thank y'all. I'm not scared. I ain't afraid because I share what is laid on my heart to share. And if there's ever anything or any time you have a question or you want to reach out to me, please do. I done told y'all this number before. I don't know the number. Let me tell you the number. Send me a text, 404-800-3975. It comes to my phone, okay? But I want us to be able to gain strength from one another, and I want us to be the best versions of us unapologetically, because no one else can do you better than you. And you are relevant, you are necessary, and you are needed, if to no one else, to me. All right? So remember to stay humble, stay positive. Be willing to give yourself grace. But in giving you grace, be willing to be open to see you with who created you, not with other people, not with their opinions, especially if they ain't a safe place. Because there's still someone out there who wants to kill, steal, and destroy you. All right? So stay focused, stay humble, stay positive, and be the best version of you unapologetically. Smooches.